Right, hello everyone, and welcome to this new video on the channel. So today I'm going to be reacting to my League 2 predictions that I made before the start of the season, and we're going to be seeing how many points I got as well. So for this, I'm going to be using a scoring system. So basically, you want to get the least amount of points possible, so you get a point per place out you are per team. So, for example, if you predict a team in 12th and they actually finish 12th, you get 0 points. But let's say you predict them 12th and they finish 15, you get 3 points and so on. So the aim here, like I said, to get the least amount of points possible. So let's see how we did. If you made some predictions, use this scoring system as well and let me know how you did in the comments. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so for this, we're going to start with my predictions from bottom to top and we'll see where they actually finished and the points difference. So let's start off from the bottom then, and in 24th place, I predicted Crewe Town, who have just won the playoffs. They finished 7th. So, not a good start at all. 17 points, which is probably the highest out of all of the predictions. But I don't think I were alone in this prediction. I think pretty much everyone had them finishing bottom. They looked in quite a lot of trouble, like I say, a lot of ownership issues and stuff like that. And a lot of players leaving. But to be fair, they've pulled themselves together and they've absolutely smashed this season, finishing in the playoffs. Then beating MK Dons in the semi-finals, I think 8-1 on aggregate, and then beating Crewe 2-0 in the final. So fair play to Crewe, and they are going to be playing. They have got out of the division, but I thought it were going to be to the National League. However, they are going to be playing League 1 football next season. Moving on to a bit of a better prediction now. In 23rd, I had Forest Green Rovers, who finished a place below bottom of the table in 24th, so 1 point for me here. And you can kind of tell it was going to be a rough season for them. I mean, they've kind of one of them teams have had quite a lot of success over these last few years, but a team that goes up quite quick when we do have a bit of downwards momentum, you tend to fall down pretty quick. And you can just kind of sense that things weren't great at Forest Green, and they're going to be playing back in the National League next season. In 22nd, I had Harrogate Town, who ended up finishing in 13th, so 9 points for me here. Yeah, not a great prediction, but like I say, one of the small teams in the division. They've kind of held the weight for quite a bit in League 2 for a few years, and you kind of had a feeling that, you know, they'd had that success and were starting to drop back down to, because they are probably the smallest club in the EFL, and we're starting to drop down to that level. But no, they've had a good year, finishing, like I say, mid-table. They have been flirting in the playoffs a bit as well for quite a bit of the season, and yeah, it's been a really, really strong season for Harrogate in my opinion. It's going to be interesting if they can keep that up next season. In 21st place, I went for Morecambe, who finished in at 15th, so 6 points for me here. And yeah, it's been a weird season for Morecambe. They were, like I say, on the edge of the playoffs, but then they had a 3-point deduction, had all sorts of ownership issues, like, you know, slipped down the table at the end of the season. And for a team, to be honest, when I make these predictions next season, I really fear for them. I mean, they've lost pretty much all the squad, barring about 3 or 4 players. It's going to be tough for Morecambe next season, I'm afraid, but nevertheless, first season back in League 2, they managed to survive, but, you know, they're quite a bit off the playoffs in the end, but they've done enough to avoid relegation. In 20th, I had this season's losing playoff finalist, Crewe Alexandra, who ended up finishing in 6th, so 14 points. For me here, another big dent in my predictions. I thought Crewe were going to struggle this year. I thought they've lost quite a few players, and you know, second season back in this league, I thought they'd be down there, but they've proven everyone wrong. I mean, they've had a really good season, been pretty consistent in the playoffs, have never really dropped out of them all season, and yeah, they've been hard to beat. Like, especially at the start of the season, there were several times they were 1 or 2 goals down, and they managed to claw it back and get a point, or even the win. And they're just the comeback kings. I mean, they proved that against us in the playoff semi-final, which I don't like talking about, but you know, we've done a really, really good job of that this season and deservedly got into the playoffs. In 19th, I had Colchester United, who finished in 22nd, so 3 points for me here, just avoiding relegation this season. It was kind of a 3-horse race between them, Forest Green and Sutton, and it was Colchester who survived it. It's they've been around there for quite a few seasons, you know, just above the dotted line, so they'll be open next season. We can have a bit more of a comfier season, but we're going to have to wait and see. In 18th, I predicted Sutton United, who finished in 23rd, so 5 points for me here. I thought we'd have a bit of a drop-off. They finished last season really poorly after being up near the playoffs. I think they dropped down to about 14th. And yeah, that momentum carried on into this season. They had a really bad start, but did pick up a bit, and they looked like they could have potentially, put up a bit of a fight to survive. But at the end of the day, it just weren't enough. Colchester got the results they needed, Sutton didn't, and they are going down with Forest Green. Time for my first spot on score here. In 17th place, I predicted Accrington Stanley, and they're finishing 17th. So no points for me here, and another weird season, a bit like Morecambe, a really, really weird season. They've obviously first season back in League Two for a few seasons after getting relegated the season before, and they've had a very topsy-turvy season, like up near the playoffs, dropping down towards the end of the season quite a lot. Obviously, they've lost very long-term manager John Coleman, and obviously Andy Holt's been very vocal on social media and stuff like that with several different issues, saying he's going to sell the club. It's been a very chaotic season for Accrington, and I think at the end of the season that kind of showed on the pitch as well as off it. And like Morecambe, they're a club that I'm a bit fearful for. I'm not too sure. I think they'll probably be all right, but I think they're going to be on some downwards momentum. In 16th, I had Newport County, finished in 18th, so 2 points for me here. They had a pretty solid mid-table season up until about January, February, and then went on a very, very good run. And you thought it could potentially be dark horses for the playoffs, but then at the end of the season, they had a horrific run. I believe it was about 8 or 9 games they lost in a row, and they fell all the way to 18th. So, a bit like Sutton, when you end the season in real bad form, that can go over into the next season. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Newport start. Are they going to eradicate that bad run and have a decent start, or is that poor form going to creep into the start of next season? In 15th, I went for Barrow, who finished in 8th, so 7 points for me here. And I thought it was going to be a lot more, to be fair. They looked pretty, solid to finish in a playoff spot, but a bit of bad form at the end of the season, and they just missed out. They were replaced by us, and yeah, they'll have been disappointed to miss out on the playoffs. I'm recording this on the FA Cup final day on the Saturday. They announced Pete Wild had left the club yesterday, so it's going to be an interesting one because a lot of his success is, like I say, we've had him for a while now, and who are they going to get in to replace him? Is he going to do as well as Pete Wild's done at Barrow? Interesting times for him, it's fair to say, next season. In 14th, I went for Walsall, who finished in 11th, so 3 points for me here. Another team like Newport, they had a really good run around March, April time, managed to get into the playoffs, but ultimately they just couldn't keep that form up and they slipped out, so that's saved me quite a few points there. But nevertheless, it's not been a bad season for Walsall, 11th place, and they'll be a team who's going to be looking at the league next year and thinking they can at least get a playoff spot, because the league's not a lot weaker with a lot of the bigger teams going up. Not so, not too many threats coming down, in my opinion. So Walsall are going to, I'm sure they'll be really fancying the chances of getting a playoff spot next year. In 13th, I went for AFC Wimbledon, who finished in 10th, so 3 points for me here. And they had an awful season last year, really finishing low down in the table. And I thought they'd have a better season, but they finished quite a bit higher than I thought, to be fair. And they were another team. There were quite a few flirting around the playoff spots, but ultimately they just couldn't make that happen. We obviously had El Mohammadi go to Ipswich in January, which stopped a lot of their goals, and I don't think they made that up as much. I mean, the striker from Solihull didn't do as much as expected, I don't think. And ultimately, they just didn't have enough to finish in the playoffs. In 12th place, I had Tranmere Rovers, who finished in 16th, so 4 points for me here. And at the start of the season, Tranmere were looking in a bit of trouble. Then we got Adkins in, and he got them playing some good football, got them well clear of safety. They even looked like they could have potentially pushed on to finish really high up in the table, but ultimately the form kind of settled down a bit, and it was a 16th place finish for them. In 11th, I had Swindon Town, who finished in 19th, so 8 points for me here. And Swindon's been a bit of a car crash this season, to be fair. The start of the season so well. I mean, we had Dan Kemp, Jake Young, and Charlie Austin, your front three, who were just firing goals for fun. But then Kemp went back to MK Dons, Young went back to Bradford, and Austin just didn't have the service and probably the quality on his own. And a lot of ownership issues, a lot of off-the-field stuff going on as well at Swindon. And it showed on the pitch, and they've just all season just slid down the table, from automatics to playoffs to just, 19th place finish, which, if that bad form had started a bit early, you never know, we could have been in a dogfight in the relegation zone. But nevertheless, I managed to avoid that. They're going to have to sort the ends out next season, or they could be in big trouble. In 10th, I had Salford City, who finished in 20th, so 10 points for me here. And we just couldn't do it, to be fair, Salford. I mean, we had Matt Smith banging in the goals. I think he was second top scorer this season. But apart from that, we just struggled last year, Salford. We just didn't have a good year at all. And, I don't really know what's gone wrong with him as the early success that's got them to League Two fizzled out a bit. They're going to be a club to watch, to be fair. They're going to, Gary Neville's got to get his team sorted out, or they could find themselves easily being slipped into a relegation fight. In 9th place, I had MK Dons, who finished in 4th, so 5 points for me here. And I thought I don't know why, I just had a feeling they wouldn't do it. I just thought they'd struggle quite a bit, and it looked like that at one point. They had a strong start, but then they really slipped in form. Graham Alexander got sacked, Mike Williamson got appointed, and it just got them firing straight away, and they just soared up the league. And we're kind of in between 3rd and 4th for a while, but ultimately it was the top 3 who went up, and MK Dons had to settle for the playoffs and ended up losing first leg 3-0 at Crewe, second leg 5-1 at home, so 8-1 overall. And they've got to be, got a good manager, decent squad, so they're really going to be hoping to fire next season and get back into League One. In 8th, and just missing out on the playoffs, I had Grimsby Town. However, to be fair, they just missed out on relegation, finishing in 21st, so that is 13 points for me here. Not a good prediction at all. I just thought we'd have a good year, to be fair. I just thought we'd do all right, but they just didn't. They just never got going, and, they were quite lucky to survive in the end, because I watched them twice this season against my team, Donny Rovers. At home, we lost 1-0, which was the end of manager before Artell's time at the club. And then when we played them away, we beat them 5-1, which, they were awful. To be fair, we were good, but they were awful as well. So, I thought they could have been in big trouble, but they just had enough to survive. Moving into the playoffs, and in 7th place, I had Mansfield Town, who finished in 3rd, so 4 points for me here, and they've finally done it. They've kind of been always a bridesmaid, but never the bride, Mansfield Town. But they've finally been able to get over the line, deservedly so as well. They've been a very good team for a few years, I think, and they've finally managed to get up into League One. So I think, to be fair, I'm disappointed as well not to win the title, because, Stockport had a bit of a blip and Mansfield took advantage of that, but we just couldn't seem to, stay up at the top. And ultimately, like I say, they've still been promoted in 3rd, so it's been a fantastic season for Mansfield. In 6th place, I had Bradford City, who finished in 9th, so 3 points for me here, and I thought it was going to be a lot more points if it weren't for their good form at the end of the season. We're down in about 14th, 15th, but last few games, like I said, they've had a few games in hand as well, and managed to claw it back, and just missed out on a playoff spot in the end. It just weren't enough for them, but it could have been a lot worse for Bradford. In 5th place, I had Gillingham, who ended up finishing in 12th, so that is 7 points for me here. And Gillingham started the season really well, top of the league. They slipped down into around the playoff spots, and then some reason made the decision to sack Neil Harris and replace him with Clements, and it just didn't work out as much. They were no means a bad team, but just, especially at the end of the season, we just didn't have enough. They were a really good defensive team. They didn't concede a lot of goals, but we just didn't score many either. We just didn't have enough to get that playoff spot. But a bit like a few teams I mentioned here, they'll be looking at this league next year and be thinking they can really do some damage, because, it's wide open, in my opinion. There's quite a few teams who could be up there. In 4th place, I went for my team at Doncaster Rovers, who finished in 5th, so 1 point for me here. I thought I was going to have egg on my face with this prediction. To be fair, I thought it would finish like 20th and I'd get a hell of a lot of points from it, but thankfully, we won a fair few games in a row and managed to get somehow into the playoffs. And at the end of the day, it's been a really good season for us. We had the heartbreak of Crewe, obviously, but apart from that, we've been, since February, it's been absolutely superb. So, not a bad prediction, to be fair, and I'm looking forward to next season, to be fair. It's going to be a good season, I feel, and never say never, you never know what's going to happen, but I'm feeling confident early on. Moving into the automatics then, and in 3rd place, I predicted Wrexham, who finished in 2nd, so 1 point for me here, and a very good season for Wrexham, back-to-back promotions, and yeah, they'll be pleased with that. I know they'll probably want to win the title, but nevertheless, it has been a superb season. And it's going to be interesting to see how they do in League One. Like I say, they're up against a lot of bigger clubs. I know they'll be wanting to have a good season, so it's going to be interesting to keep a close eye on them. In second place, I had Notts County, who finished in 14th, so 12 points for me here. I thought I was going to get this pretty right early in the season when we were in top 3 pretty consistently, but they've just completely fell apart. I mean, manager went to Swansea, and Maynard's just not been able to do the job. I mean, they've not been scoring the goals they had been doing. They've obviously got a very, very talented squad, but they've just not been performing. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this squad. I mean, you'd think there'd be a lot of a lot of clubs in for Langstaff, obviously Geordie Jones, and is McGoldrick going to carry on? And there's several other players as well who could be nabbed. So yeah, it'd be very interesting to keep a close eye on County next year. I've not got a clue how they're going to do, because obviously you'd expect them to recruit as well, but whether they can replace that core group who've got them through the National League on over 100 points. And we'll have to see what they do next. And finally, just my second spot on prediction of the video. In first place, I had Stockport County, who did finish in first, winning the league. So no points for me here, and deserved winners. Absolutely fantastic season for Stockport County. When you just get that feeling about a club at the start of the year, I had this about Stockport. I thought, if we're going to win it, pretty comfy. Wrexham and Mansfield took them close, but in the end, we're only going to be one winner. They've been a superb team this year. So congratulations to Stockport, and good luck in League One. Okay, so that is all my predictions then. So I'm going to put the table just to the side of me, just so you can see the full table. So in total, 138 points was my final score. I got 2 teams spot on, which were Stockport County and Accrington Stanley, and my worst score was 17 points with Crawley Town. So overall, not too bad. I'd like to get a few more than 2 spot on, but it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, I suppose I've got to take that. I mean, League One I did a lot better with, but yeah, not too bad. I'd like to beat that score next year, so we'll see what I do. So in the comments, let me know what score you got if you made some predictions. Let me know which ones you got spot on and which were your worst predictions. I'm looking forward to hearing from you on that one. So in the meantime, anyway, I'm going to leave the video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you're new around here, please subscribe to the channel and like the video, whether you're an old or new viewer of this channel. Also, remember to follow my social media links at Adam Gittings PT on pretty much everything. So I've got one more reaction video to do, which is for the Championship, which I'll do after the playoff final. As you're watching this, it'll be tomorrow. So in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.